is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
In the headlines, U.S. President Donald Trump vows there is no rush to secure a peace agreement with Iran. The White House maintains the active naval blockade will remain in full force until a deal is signed, while Tehran continues to reject key nuclear concessions. In Africa, the Democratic Republic of the Congo takes drastic action. The Ministry of Transport has banned all commercial flights to and from the city of Bunia in an emergency bid to halt a severe surge of Ebola infections in Ituri province. Across DRC's borders, Uganda is appealing to the international community for emergency funding to contain a spreading Ebola outbreak as medical officials confirmed localized transmissions and rising costs or case numbers inside the capital. In the Philippines, tragedy struck Pampanga. The death toll from the collapse of a 9-story building in Angeles City continues to rise after rescuers recovered bodies earlier today. Teams continue to dig through the shattered structure where 26 survivors have been pulled alive. In Manila, a push to reopen a high-stakes corruption inquiry. Senator Amy Marcos is calling on the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee to revive its investigation into alleged multi-billion peso anomalies involving local flood controls projects, demanding clear accountability for structural irregularities. China makes history in orbit with the successful launch of its Shenzhou 23 crewed spacecraft. The mission to the Tiangong space station features the historic deployment of the first ever astronaut from Hong Kong and marks the nation's first extended one-year stay in space. And in entertainment, a Filipino vocalist Gwen Dorado is revealed as the soulful voice behind the original soundtrack for South Korea's latest global Netflix smash hit, My Royal Nemesis. I'm Andrea Santos. Newsline World starts now. First in our news, the Democratic Republic of Congo is imposing sweeping air travel restrictions on the city of Bunia. The drastic measures mandated by the Ministry of Transport are part of an emergency effort to contain an escalating Ebola outbreak in Ituri province. Verhil Parba has the news.
DR Congo's National Ministry of Transport has ordered a suspension of all commercial, private and special flights to and from Bunia Airport. Under the strict containment measures, the government is only allowing humanitarian and medical flights to operate, which must obtain special approval. On the ground, security personnel have been seen enforcing tightened movement controls across the city, with vehicles passing through the key roads under increased monitoring. The aggressive lockdown follows the declaration of an Ebola outbreak in Ituri province earlier this month. DRC officials reported that there have already been at least 177 suspected Ebola-related deaths and more than 750 suspected cases in the region. Laboratory testing has identified a specific strain as the Bundibugyo Ebola virus. Because this strain currently has no vaccines, the World Health Organization has officially declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. Containment efforts face heavy security and humanitarian challenges linked to conflict and displacement, particularly in Bunia and Mungbualo, which are severely complicating contact tracing. The travel restrictions have drawn mixed reaction from local residents. While some welcome the measures as necessary to protect themselves and break the chain of contamination to other provinces, local traders warned of growing economic strain in a city heavily reliant on trade links with Kinshasa.
C'est une belle idée parce que cela va diminuer, donc va couper la chaîne de contamination quitta la province de l'Ituri démocratique du Congo. Parce que si on laisse que le gens puisse circuler partout par là, ou soit qu'ils se déplacent dans le même pays, bien sûr, nous espérons que toutes les provinces de la République ne sont pas atteintes par cette maladie. Et si on laisse que le gens puisse circuler ou voyager, cela va renforcer la contamination.
On ne sait pas aussi si cette décision va aller jusqu'où parce que d'un côté aussi ça fragilise les mouvements parce que beaucoup de choses, n'est-ce pas, viennent de Kinshasa parce que nous savons que Kinshasa c'est notre capitale. Alors beaucoup de choses viennent de là comme je venais de le dire tout à l'heure, mais d'un côté je pense que c'est pour limiter aussi la propagation.
This has been Verhil Parba, your global citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Meanwhile, in Uganda is making an urgent appeal to the international community for emergency funding to contain the deadly Ebola virus. The plea comes as health officials confirm the detection of local transmission within infection numbers rising in the capital. Prince Tripoli reports.
The Ugandan government issued its funding appeal during a high-level meeting on Friday in the capital city of Kampala, stating that substantial resources are immediately required to protect high-risk border zones. On Saturday, Uganda's Ministry of Health confirmed 3 new cases of Ebola virus disease, bringing the country's total number of confirmed infections to 5. Notably, these are the first locally detected Ebola cases recorded inside Uganda since the outbreak originally began in the neighboring Democratic Republic of the Congo. Health officials and disease experts warn that the next 3 months will be absolutely critical to containing the virus and preventing further cross-border transmission. The requested international funds will directly support surveillance, laboratory testing, case management, and border preparedness in high-risk areas. Meanwhile, the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is accelerating its efforts to develop medical countermeasures specifically for these outbreaks strain.
We need by the end of this year to say that for Budibungyo, we have vaccine, we have medicine. There is no choice. We don't want to see another outbreak, and we are asking ourselves, how can we contain that?
With the virus moving across international lines, officials are calling for closer coordination not just inside the DRC, but across the border communities most at risk. The Ugandan Ministry of Health emphasized that global relaxation could allow the virus to travel anywhere, making immediate joint action between the DRC and Uganda's border districts vital.
What is happening in Ituri can happen anywhere, provided we relax as a global community. Therefore, the earlier we move and we work together in DRC and also the border districts of Uganda, the better for us.
As part of its preventative strategy, Uganda is also seeking international support to establish a dedicated medical facility situated right near the DRC border. The specialized facility is designed to intercept and care for individuals crossing over into the country to seek medical treatment.
In this particular case, we must make sure that even those who are coming for care, although we don't turn them away, but we must create a designated place. We do not really bring them in the country because then that means that there's a potential of importation for the meantime of the time we are having an outbreak.
Medical experts conclude that the primary focus of the global response must remain twofold: stopping the outbreak directly as its source in the eastern DRC, while exhausting strict preventative measures to keep the virus from locking down the wider region. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Prince Tripoli, SMNI News.
United States President Donald Trump says the U.S. will not rush into a peace deal with Iran, asserting that time is on America's side. Trump declared that the active naval blockade will remain in full force until an agreement is signed, while Iran maintained that they have not agreed to several demanded nuclear concessions. Almar Forsuelo will give us more details.
President Donald Trump announced on Sunday that he has explicitly instructed U.S. negotiators not to rush into an agreement with Iran, stating that both sides must take their time to get the transaction right. Writing on social media, Trump reiterated that Iran will not be allowed to develop or procure a nuclear weapon, but noted that current diplomatic talks are proceeding in an orderly and constructive manner. The statement comes one day after Trump announced that a peace agreement had been largely negotiated between the US, Iran, and other regional nations, which would include opening the strategic Strait of Hormuz. However, a senior US official tempered immediate expectations, stating that the final deal is not expected to be signed immediately, while Iran's Supreme Leader Mojtaba Khamenei has approved the broad template of the agreement. Crucial details are still under negotiation, and full approval could take several days. As diplomats work to close the remaining gaps, major contradictions are emerging over what concessions Iran is actually willing to make. An Israeli government source revealed Sunday that President Trump told Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu he would not sign a final deal unless Tehran completely dismantles its nuclear program and removes all enriched uranium from its territory. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian stated that Iran is ready to reassure the world that it is not seeking nuclear weapons, but fleetingly emphasized that Iranian negotiators will never compromise on the country's honor and dignity.
به دنیا این اطمینان رو بدیم که ما به دنبال سلاح هسته‌ای نیستیم، ما به دنبال ناآرامی در منطقه نیستیم. ناآرام کننده این منطقه اسرائیل که به دنبال اون نقشه در حقیقت اسرائیل بزرگه و به طرق مختلف داره توطئه میکنه که جنگ و ناآرامی و اختلاف رو در منطقه همچنان زنده نگه داره.
Meanwhile, official Iranian sources are flatly denying reports that Tehran has committed to giving up its stockpile of highly enriched uranium or removing nuclear materials from the country as part of the initial memorandum of understanding. Iranian officials state that Tehran has not accepted any action on the nuclear issue at this stage of the talks, having postponed nuclear negotiations until after potential end to the war. They also rejected separate claims that the country has agreed to a 20-year suspension of its nuclear activities, maintaining that no details regarding nuclear restrictions exist in the current draft agreement. Reporting for Newsline World, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin is accusing Baltic leaders of harboring an obsessive hostility towards Russia, claiming anti-Russian sentiment has completely clouded their judgment. This comes as Moscow rejects recent military statement from Lithuania, while simultaneously labeling the United Kingdom's recent sanction easing as a sign of global pragmatism. Carlo de la Peña reports.
Russian presidential spokesperson Dmitry Peskov claimed that anti-Russian sentiment across the Baltic states is actively preventing their leaders from thinking about the future or acting in their own national interests. Peskov targeted regional leadership, asserting that their anti-Russian stance has heavily compromised their political decision-making. The Kremlin's sharp rebuke follows a suggestion from Lithuanian Foreign Minister Kęstutis Budrys, who stated that NATO should attack Russia's Kaliningrad region to demonstrate its military capability. Peskov dismissed the minister's statement as close to madness, calling it a sign of just how reckless those politicians are. He added that such lawmakers are hardly capable of well-thought-out, ingenious moves.
К сожалению, прибалтийские страны действительно маниакально антироссийские. Маниакально антироссийские. Это антироссийское застилает им глаза, не дает возможности думать о будущем, не дает возможности делать то, что в интересах этих стран.
Meanwhile, Moscow took a very different tone when addressing the United Kingdom's recent trade policies. Peskov described London's decision to ease sanctions on fuel imports derived from Russian oil as a distinct sign of pragmatism in international relations. Back on May 19, the UK Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation issued an open-ended trade license that officially permitted the import of specific diesel and aviation fuel starting May 20. The measure applies exclusively to fuels refined in third countries but originally produced from Russian-origin crude oil. The UK's policy shift was prompted by rising domestic energy prices and the severe risk of fuel shortages brought on by the ongoing war in Iran and subsequent shipping disruptions through the Strait of Hormuz.
Смотрите, вот подобные ситуации, когда они касаются межчеловеческих общений, это называется цинизмом. Когда межгосударственных отношений – прагматизмом.
The UK's trade decision quickly drew heavy criticism from domestic opposition parties as well as officials in Ukraine. Following the mounting backlash, the UK government has since promised to suspend the open-ended trade license as soon as possible. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
Up next, in the Philippines, tragedy struck Pampanga. The death toll from the collapse of a 9-story building in Angeles City continues to rise after rescuers recovered bodies earlier today. Teams continue to dig through the shattered structure where 26 survivors have been pulled alive. And in Manila, a push to reopen a high-stakes corruption inquiry. Senator Amy Marcos is calling on the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee to revive its investigation into alleged multi-billion peso anomalies involving local flood control projects, demanding clear accountability for structural irregularities. More news when Newsline World returns.
In a world that craves the light of truth, One Network stands as an immovable beacon. For years, the world recognized our unyielding spirit, crowning us the most credible media company of the year. We crossed oceans to become Asia's most trusted and valued international news team, and stood defiant as the most outstanding independent Philippine media. Now, in the year 2026, we still face the howling winds of challenges. They bend the law, trying to make us silent. They spread fear to make the industry turn away. But they have forgotten one absolute truth. SMNI is not built on the fleeting praise of fearful men. We are built in trust. Whether the recognition echoes loudly in the grand halls or sits silently in the living rooms of millions, our foundation cannot be broken. They can only try to silence us, but they cannot silence the people who know we are still the most trusted and quality news channel of the year. Guiding this unstoppable force is our honorary chairman of SMNI, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy.
The mandate of SMNI for nation building. It is always for nation building.
He is not merely a leader. He is a celebrated spiritual leader with strong advocacy for peace and nation builder of the year, hailed globally as a humanitarian pastor of the year, and the most influential and powerful man of the decade. Through every storm, he stands as the King of Peace, championing sustainability and pushing for a unified nation when the world needs it most. Let the shadows try to fall, let the establishment tremble. We are the certified most sustainable and reliable news channel. We are the pulse of the nation. We are the shield of the innocent. The truth is our armor, the people our strength. We are SMNI, and our legacy is the truth.
Kapag hindi yan ibinalita ng SMNI, hindi yan totoo.
Sa SMNI lang ako nanonood at nag-aabang ng balita.
Matanda na ako. Isa lang ang pinagkakatiwalaan ko, SMNI.
Hello, Ate Kuya. Ano po yung channel na pinapanood niyo po sa balita?
Ako, siguradong SMNI. Kasi kung sino yung pinagkatiwalaan ng Duterte, doon kami.
Yes! Yes! Nakapalo po! Ayan po! SMNI!
Wow.
Bakit SMNI? SMNI kasi legit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. No fake news, SMNI.
Ngayon po bilang isang OFW at bilang isang Pilipino, in-encourage ko nga yung mga kababayan ko na manood na lang tayo ng SMNI dahil patas ang balita at may puso at malasakit para sa sitwasyon natin sa bansang Pilipinas.
Para sa akin, kung ako sa inyo, tumuto kayo sa SMNI dahil dyan lang po tayo makakaasa ng tapat at totoong balita.
Anong channel po pinapanood niyo sa balita?
SMNI lang po.
SMNI lang, wala nang iba.
Para sa Diyos at sa Pilipinas, dating mahal.
For years, Sunshine Media Network International has remained committed to delivering truth that matters. Anchored on the principles of responsible journalism, the network prioritizes facts, clarity, and information that truly matters to the public. SMNI provides a platform for voices that are often unheard, stories that deserve attention, and issues that demand understanding. Public service and national interest remain at the heart of every broadcast. Through consistent reporting and meaningful programming, SMNI continues to strengthen credibility and build public trust. This commitment to truthful and relevant reporting has not gone unnoticed. Over the years, SMNI has received various awards and recognitions from different institutions and organizations. These honors highlight the network's contributions to public service, broadcasting excellence, and nation-oriented programming. Each recognition stands as a testament to SMNI's dedication to responsible journalism and meaningful storytelling. More importantly, these accolades reflect the confidence and trust placed by the public and partner institutions. Guiding this mission is the vision of the network's honorary chairman, Pastor Apollo C. Kibaloy. His leadership underscores the belief that media can be a powerful force for nation building. Under this vision, SMNI promotes unity, moral values, and responsible citizenship among Filipinos. Programs are designed not only to inform, but also to inspire and empower communities. Because for SMNI, the mission goes beyond broadcasting. It is about contributing to the progress and development of the nation. This commitment to service extends beyond the television screen. Through the SMNI Foundation, the network implements humanitarian and community outreach initiatives across the country. Programs provide assistance to communities, children, and families in need, bringing help where it matters most. SMNI also works hand-in-hand with its partner organizations, including the Sunshine Philippines Movement, the Keepers Club International, and the Children's Joy Foundation Incorporated. Together, these organizations promote volunteerism, compassion, and social responsibility. Their programs demonstrate SMNI's commitment to real public service, turning advocacy into action. SMNI, delivering truth that matters for nation building.
And we're back. The death toll in the Angeles City building collapse has risen following the recovery of another body from the debris earlier today. Rescue teams are continuing to dig through the shattered 9-story structure in Barangay Balibago after 26 people were successfully pulled alive from the wreckage. Sigrid Castañeda has the news.
Rescuers recovered a fourth body from the rubble of a collapsed 9-story building under construction along Teodoro Street in Barangay Balibago today. Earlier, authorities identified the first fatality as a Malaysian national and a person with disability, or PWD. The second fatality was pulled from the heavy rubble early Monday morning. Responders rushed the victim to a nearby hospital, but the individual was declared dead on arrival. The third victim was also recovered early Monday from the debris. 17 other people, mostly construction workers, remain missing beneath the debris field. The incident began early Sunday morning, turning the massive construction site into a mountain of rubble. Local atmospheric services noted that heavy rains and strong winds preceded the disaster, recording 44 millimeters of rainfall between 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. on Saturday. Local government authorities reported that at least 26 individuals have been rescued so far. According to the Angeles Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, 24 people were pulled directly from the collapsed structure, while 2 others were rescued from a nearby apartheid structure was struck during the incident. Emergency crews have been forced to cut through layers of shattered concrete and twisted metal, pausing repeatedly to listen closely for any signs of survivors trapped beneath the heavy wreckage. While several workers managed to escape during the initial collapse and other nearby suffered only minor injuries, earlier reports indicated that at least 30 people had been trapped under the building. Emergency personnel from multiple agencies are deployed at the scene, but officials emphasize that the operations remain extremely challenging. Responders were forced to navigate unstable concrete slabs, tight voids within the wreckage, and a constant risk of further collapse. Heavy machinery has been deployed to clear parts of the site, but much of the rescue work is still carried out by hand as crews move cautiously through unstable wreckage. Investigators have yet to determine the cause of the disaster, and authorities are examining whether structural weaknesses, construction issues, or other factors played a role in the collapse. For God and My Beloved Philippines, Sigrid Castañeda, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Meanwhile, it remains unclear who should be held accountable for the alleged irregularities in the country's flood control projects. Because of this, Senator Amy Marcos has once again called on the Senate to reopen its investigation to further deepen the inquiry into the issue. Angel Pastor reports.
Senator Amy Marcos has urged Senate President Alan Peter Cayetano to reopen the Blue Ribbon Committee hearings on the alleged anomalies involving flood control projects across the country. According to Marcos, any cover-up surrounding the alleged corruption must be removed so that the full truth can come out and the allegations can be thoroughly clarified. The senator also requested that the so-called 18 Marines, former Congressman Zaldico and former Undersecretary Adrian Bersamin be summoned to the investigation for their alleged involvement in the controversy. Bersamin's name surfaced after Zaldico allegedly stated that he had confirmed the inclusion of an estimated 100 billion pesos worth of flood control insertions in the 2025 national budget. In addition, allegations emerged claiming that messages were exchanged between Bersamin and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. regarding an alleged kickback scheme involving the flood control projects. Malacanang, however, strongly denied the allegations and maintained that there is no insufficient evidence against the president. It can be recalled that during a privileged speech, Senator Rodante Marcoleta argued that Bersamin and other personalities should be investigated to further strengthen the inquiry and shed light on the allegations raised during the hearings. According to Marcoleta, this was also one of the reasons why he did not sign the Blue Ribbon Committee's partial report, which he described as unfinished or incomplete. The partial report failed to secure enough signatures from Blue Ribbon Committee members. Only 7 senators signed the report, meaning it cannot yet be considered a fully adopted committee report and cannot be formally presented before the Senate plenary. On May 5th, through a privileged speech, former Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Ping Lacson presented what he called the Chairman's Progress Report on the investigation into the alleged flood control anomalies. Senator Amy Marcos said that now that the Blue Ribbon Committee is under the leadership of Senator Pia Cayetano, she hopes a more thorough investigation will continue in order to clarify the allegations of corruption surrounding the country's flood control projects. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Angel Pastor, SMNI News.
Meanwhile, the Department of Migrant Workers, or DMW, has assured that the condition of the 38 Filipino crew members aboard the MV Hondius in the Netherlands is safe and fine after health concerns on the ship were linked to hantavirus. Migrant Workers Secretary Hans Leo Kakdak met with Dutch authorities and the ship owner to ensure the safety and welfare of the Filipino seafarers. According to the DMW, all 38 crew members are negative for hantavirus and no one is showing symptoms of the sickness. They are still undergoing a mandatory 6-week quarantine that will end on June 18, 2026, while health authorities in the Netherlands continue to monitor them. The ship owner also assured that the Filipino crew will receive full compensation while in quarantine and even after it. Their repatriation to the Philippines is also being prepared as soon as they are given clearance by the Dutch health authorities. Meanwhile, China has successfully launched its Shenzhou 23 crewed spaceship. sending 3 astronauts to the orbiting Tiangong Space Station. The historic mission will not only feature the first ever astronaut from Hong Kong, but will also mark the country's first one-year extended stay in orbit. Daniela Paulite has the story.
The Shenzhou 23 crewed spaceship blasted off at 23:08 Beijing time on Sunday from the Launch Center in northwest China. Carried atop a Long March 2F carrier rocket, the launch was officially declared a complete success by officials at the Launch Center shortly after liftoff. Official send-off ceremony was held for the crew, drawing crowds of well-wishers who gathered at the site to see them off. The China Manned Space Agency, or CMSA, confirmed that the spaceship separated from its rocket around 10 minutes after launch and successfully entered its designated orbit, with all 3 astronauts reported to be in good condition. The 3-member crew is led by Mission Commander Zhu Yangzhu, alongside fellow astronauts Zhang Ziwan and Lai Kaiying. Lai's deployment marks a major milestone for the program as the first astronaut from China's Hong Kong Special Administrative Region to head into space. The mission profile is moving at a rapid pace, utilizing advanced automated flight systems. The Shenzhou 23 spaceship will adapt a fast, automated rendezvous and docking mode, locking onto a radial port of the Chanhe core module approximately 3.5 hours after launch. The maneuver will officially form a massive orbital combination of 3 modules and 3 spacecraft. Once on board, the newly arrived crew will execute an official station handover with active Shenzhou 21 astronauts. While standard Shenzhou missions typically last 6 months, this expedition will break records. One of the Shenzhou 23 crew members is scheduled to conduct a full 1-year in orbit stay, doubling the usual flight duration. During their extended mission, the crew will conduct a series of experiments and applications across fields such as space life, human physiology, microgravity, physics, and new space technologies. The astronauts are also slated to perform multiple extravehicular activities, carrying out essential tasks including the installation, commissioning, maintenance, and repair of equipment, both inside and outside the spacecraft. This launch marks the 40th flight of China's manned spaceflight program and the 7th crewed mission since the Tiangong Space Station entered its application and development phase in late 2022. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulite at Gemini News.
A rare albino buffalo in Bangladesh has become an internet sensation after crowds compared its blonde forelock to the hairstyle of U.S. President Donald Trump. The nearly 700-kilogram animal attracted hundreds of visitors and social media users before reportedly being sold for sacrifice during Eid al-Adha. Stella Maurice has the story.
The rare albino buffalo, nicknamed Donald Trump because of the distinctive blonde-like hair, gained massive attention after photos and videos of the animal spread online in May 2026. Its cream-colored body, pink nose, and long blonde hair led locals name it after the U.S. president, saying the hairstyle closely resembled the American president's signature look. Dozens of people traveled from different districts in Bangladesh to visit the farm in Narayanganj and take selfies with the unusual animal. The farm owner, Ziuddin Mridha, said the buffalo received special care, including 4 baths and 4 meals a day to keep it healthy before Eid celebrations. He also confirmed that the buffalo had already been delivered to a buyer for sacrifice during the festival. Albino buffaloes are considered extremely rare in Bangladesh, where most buffaloes have dark skin. The animal's unusual appearance made it stand out among thousands of cattle prepared for the annual religious festival. Eid al-Adha, also known as Festival of Sacrifice, is one of the most important celebrations in Islam. Muslims around the world traditionally sacrifice livestock such as cows, goats, sheep, or buffaloes during the holiday, with the meat often shared among family members, neighbors, and poor communities. In Bangladesh and many Muslim majority nations, preparations for the festival include large cattle markets and the showcasing of rare or unusually large animals that often attract public attention. Eid al-Adha is expected to begin in early June this year, although the exact date may vary depending on the sighting of the moon in different countries. This has been Stella Maris, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Filipina singer Gwen Dorado is cementing her success on the international stage. The talented vocalist has officially been revealed as the voice behind the original soundtrack for South Korea's latest top charting television series. Blake Ann has the details.
South Korean television network SBS officially confirmed that the rising Filipino star is the vocal power behind Letting Go of My Heart. The track serves as a centerpiece original soundtrack for the newly debuted romantic comedy My Royal Nemesis. The television series starring Lim Ji-yoon, Ho Nam-jin, and Jang Song-ju has already become a massive international success, rocketing to the #1 spot globally in Netflix during its very first week on the platform. Dorado initially teased her fans about the secret project on social media. After eagle-eyed listeners recognized her distinct vocal tone and tagged her on Instagram, Dorado shared the speculation on her official Instagram story with a brief, playful caption reading surprise alongside a monkey and a heart emoji. This major soundtrack debut marks the latest milestone in Dorado's rapidly accelerating career within South Korea's competitive entertainment landscape. Earlier this year, the Filipino vocalist finished second in the South Korean singing competition Sing Again 4 as the season's only foreign finalist. Then, Dorado went on to win the Netflix spin-off series Famous Singers Need a Hit Song, ranking first place. And that's all for today. This is Blake Ann, bringing you the latest show buzz.
In latest sports update, Lithuanian Olympians Monika Polikienė and Aini Ropelytė showed their dominance on the sand after capturing the women's title of the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour Novali Challenge with a straight sets win over the United States in Santa Rosa, Laguna. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks moved within one win of their first NBA Finals appearance since 1999 after dominating the Cleveland Cavaliers 121-108 to take a commanding 3 games to none lead in the Eastern Conference Finals. Carlo De La Peña tells us more.
The Lithuanian pair swept Americans Elena Chacon and Madeline Anderson 21-12, 21-11 to secure the championship at the Novali Sands. Olympians Polikienė and Ropelytė controlled the match from the start, overpowering the Americans with strong attacks and consistent defense throughout the straight-set victory. The title marked the duo's first Beach Pro Tour crown after previously falling short in earlier challenge events this season in Tlaxcala and Xiamen. Ropelytė led the charge with 23 points, while former World Youth Champion Polikienė added 10 markers for the winning side. Meanwhile, Dutch pair Emmy van Driel and Mila Koning claimed third place after defeating Ukraine's Valentina Davidova and Annalie Camille in straight sets. Meanwhile, Jalen Bronson led the Knicks with 30 points, while Michael Bridges and OG Anunoby added 22 and 21 points, respectively, as New York extended its playoff winning streak to 10 games. The Knicks controlled the game from the opening quarter and never trailed, building an early double-digit advantage behind efficient shooting and aggressive defense. Cleveland attempted to rally in the second half, but costly turnovers and New York's balanced attack prevented the Cavaliers from mounting a serious comeback. Evan Mobley scored 24 points for Cleveland, while Donovan Mitchell added 23 in the losing effort. New York now has the chance to complete a series sweep in Game 4 and move closer to ending a 27-year absence from the NBA Finals. Reporting for Newsline World, this has been Carlo De La Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may you be inspired with the words of the Son. No matter who you are or whatever your circumstances in life, there are always things to be grateful for. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Andrea Santos. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.